Welcome into the Ticket Water Cooler. Happy Monday to everybody out there. Of course, it was a great weekend of basketball action. Not so much for Nate as his Virginia Tech Hokies fell, but for the Big Ten, they got two teams into the Sweet 16. Plenty of fun. Ultimately, my team, my prediction has fallen through. Auburn did not win the national championship. You still got something going for you, Nate? You still got your championship?
No, I had Kentucky. I have Arizona in one. And then I took Virginia Tech.
Oh,
in
you've
like
got
5.
multiple brackets.
I have multiple brackets, but my one was Virginia Tech in like 5.
But you didn't believe that.
No,
What's your true?
No, I actually
filled out one that you believed in.
My actual one that I believed in was Kentucky.
Okay,
but I didn't realize that St. Peter's was going to be the best team.
Yeah,
in the nation. Which honestly, if there was ever a 15 seed to go to the Elite Eight, I think it might be St. Peter's. They look good, man.
Yeah, they look
good.
No other 15 seed has done it. Even the runs that Florida Gulf Coast
Dunk
had.
City.
Yeah, Oral Roberts, your team from
that's my squad, Bach.
No,
you
might have to. You might have to change it to St. Peter's.
You think? If they make it to the Elite Eight, I might have to.
Yeah. It'll be fun. It was a great weekend of action. We'll talk about that too. Of course, the big news today, focused around Nebraska basketball. Bryce McGowan's plans to hire an agent. He's off to the NBA draft. I think kind of the big question: where does that put Nebraska? They had Sam Griesel over the weekend, transfer from North Dakota State.
Yep.
Former Lincoln East kid. So it'll be kind of cool to see how that plays out. Nicole Griffith actually has Sam Griesel on later tonight on the Ticket weeknight. So that'll be exciting. Stay tuned for that. But it really, this is not surprising. So I guess that's the problem with the news. No, it would be a great day for us coverage wise if we just could break some huge news that nobody saw coming. Right. I guess the surprising aspect to me is that he is going to hire an agent because at this point in time, you can test the waters. They fixed that a few years ago.
Absolutely.
I thought that would be if anybody's in the position to test the waters, it's him. But at the same time, we're all kind of thinking money wise. His dream's to go to the NBA, and he's definitely has a chance to do that. Definitely has an NBA body, has the athleticism, and is going to be a prized possession for whoever drafts him as far as the upside that he has. So I don't see it as a mistake. I know some people do. They think that he could get higher pick in the lottery, all that stuff if he came back for another year. I say if the money's out in front of you, go out and get it. Because he could potentially, if you are a first round draft pick, you're talking about more than $2 million guaranteed.
Absolutely.
I can't tell anybody it's a bad idea to try to take that, especially when you work for it.
If that's the case, though, we've talked to, I think the best person to discuss, and obviously you guys will talk about this in the next hour on Stricken Block on the block, but Strick doesn't think that he's a first round draft pick.
No.
And if there's anyone that I trust in this conversation, it's Eric Strickland. So where does that put him? Do we reach the point? And obviously we can't say if he's a first round draft pick, like you said, you're making $1 million. Who gives a damn what anyone says?
Yeah.
You're a millionaire at 20 years old. But if he becomes a fringe G League guy, do you think it's one of those situations where he wishes that he stayed another year at Nebraska? Obviously, we'll never know because, like you said, he's hiring an agent. He's leaving. He's gone. That's the reality. But does it ever go into someone's head, okay, maybe if I did stay another year, I'd be a first-round draft pick? I don't know.
Eventually, I think that it could play out that way. You just got to kind of ask yourself, is it going to be better to grow your game playing at the NBA level, iron sharpens iron, that type of thing is kind of probably the way he's looking at it. He could spend another few years here, try to get a bigger first contract, get into the lottery. But the other part of this, and a lot of people want to look the other way at this, but this is why I also agree that it's time to go ahead and make the money for him, is that you can get injured. I know everybody says that and just throw it because you can't play if you don't, you can't play like you might get injured or you're going to get injured, all that stuff.
Right.
You don't want that in your head. But I think the Trey McGowan's injury has got to be something that he considers, right? Like it happened to my brother. He had for what it's worth, he had a few alley-oops that were a little bit scaring. His athleticism can get him kind of into danger at times if he's going in traffic and going to throw it down. Obviously, as a Nebraska fan, I would love to see him back till his senior year, right? I'd love for him to stay next year and maybe, maybe they could argue that this could be a COVID year so you get an extra year of eligibility, all that stuff.
Knows?
I just don't, I think that for me, if you have the opportunity to make that money, that's life-changing money for not just you, but generations down the line.
Absolutely.
And it's not like it's not like winning the lottery, right? He put his blood, sweat, and tears. He grew up working to do this, and this has always been his goal. I think that's another part of this, and that's part of probably what got him to Nebraska, you kind of think, because I always try to think through the minds of these guys. And if you're a top level guy and you just loved college basketball growing up, you might still go to Duke and Kentucky and then be able to get your one and done stuff. But I have to think, like, if college basketball was a big part of your goal growing up, I don't think you'd land in Nebraska, is what I'm saying, if you're a 5-star athlete. So I think that he's been a guy that's always kind of been looking at the next level, and he let us know as much coming into the season. He said he wants to be a one and done guy. That's the plan. And then he goes through, he has the best points per game total of any Big Ten freshman since D'Angelo Russell. That sounds like you're on. He's at least on pace for what his goal was.
Yeah. And you can't fault the kid for leaving, too. I know there have been a few Husker fans have been frustrated with the situation. Obviously, they wanted him to stay, so that he should have stayed another year. At the end of the day, we can sit here on the radio, we can sit here on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you want, whatever platform you want. It doesn't matter. The kid is going to go to the NBA. He's going to live out his dream. Someone is going to call his name in the NBA draft, and he is going to be an NBA player. And who are we to say not to do that, right? And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. We can have this discussion however long we want. Will he be a first-round pick? Will he be a second round? We won't know until June 23rd at the Barclays Center. That's when this decision will be finalized. But good for him, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I couldn't be happy for him. I know you guys. I haven't met him. I know you guys have met him a couple
Class
times,
act,
and
as
he's just
far
a
as
great kid. And I really do wish him the best. I hope he's a first-round draft pick. My opinion doesn't matter at the end of the day. It comes down to the NBA scouts, right?
Right.
But I hope he is, because if you're in the second round, you don't get that guaranteed contract, and that's scary. And there's a lot of guys I've seen that have gone on to play in China and Italy, which is great success, going to make more money than we make. So there's something to be said for that too. But if his goal is the NBA, I would have stayed another year. Eric says the same thing, but doesn't matter what we think.
Yeah, Greg and Lincoln says late first round gets you Golden State, Bucks, Sixers, Mavs.
And you're going to the G League.
Yeah,
you're going to the G League.
I do think that Strick is right about that portion of it, is that I don't know if he's NBA ready now.
I agree with that.
If you go to a lower level team, they might force you to kind of grow through it, right? If you get to Golden State and the Bucks, I mean, you need to be a rotation player. I don't know if he's ready for that, just because he's got a few things to develop. But he still would. I mean, at 19 years old, with the athleticism he has,
he's got an upside.
He's got huge upside. So regardless of whether he's in the G League at first, or they kind of bring him along and do the 10-day thing, he's going to be a prized possession too, even if he is with Golden State, as they try to develop him. We got Nick in studio. Nick, what's up?
Hey, so I just got off the phone with Craig, and he wanted to kind of have you guys touch on, maybe you already did it, just the NIL deals. And with a guy like Bryce, Craig's words specifically were, if he's a 5-star and all this, you got to think he's making 6 figures if he's that
Close
good.
to it, yeah.
And he's like, so why, along those lines, I think what he was getting at is there not enough pull with NIL as maybe we thought to keep guys here?
Well, that's
a loaded question.
6 figures sounds great, and I think he probably is in that area. That's not $2 million. That's a big difference from $2 million. Again, if you're guaranteed. Now you can jump through the G League and you're not going to get the NI deals there and all that stuff. So, I mean, it is ultimately, regardless of what decision you make, obviously, even everybody for their own job choices, they're pros and cons. But I like the idea of Nebraska being out in front of the NIL thing, and a lot of people getting opportunities. And I think that he's been a big part of that. But I don't think the money touches $2 million if you're, and that's, again, not guaranteed, but if he's a first-round draft pick, I don't think the NIL is quite close to that. So I think that's where, I think it helps. I think it probably played into his decision. I think the bigger thing is, again, sometimes it just comes down to what the goal is, and what the goal has always been for Bryce. He might have been, and we forget this, with guys that could have been, when they allowed it, and they might allow it again, is going straight from high school to the pros. He might have been one of those guys. And I kind of think that about Teron Lue too, when people talk about Lue and not having enough. Sometimes that, you get upset after he won his championship. Some people were upset that he mentioned his hometown of Missouri City and didn't mention the Huskers. I think the Huskers and the college aspect for Tyronn Lue was always a part of his goal to get to the NBA. And I think that's kind of where Bryce McGowan's is. And that's not a problem. Like ultimately every hoops, guy with that level of talent,
Right.
There's a lot of guys, D1 talent, and most of them still have the goal to get the NBA, but it's not so obvious that they're going to get there eventually, right? With Bryce's level of talent, where it's been probably projected the last few years now that you're going to be in the NBA someday.
He's going to
you kind of turn your focus toward, okay, I want to be that guy, not necessarily I hope I can, stick through it and get to a Sweet 16 one day.
It just worries me because I'm looking now, Bach, at the 2020 or was it 2020 NBA draft contracts. So 31st pick, so first pick in the second round, Tyrell Terry, 4-year, $6.5 million. Great contract. Go down to 36, Dallas Mavericks, Tyler Bay, 2-way contract. So, I mean, there is not much wiggle room there. So I just have this feeling that because that's a good point. NIL, there's something to be said for that. Okay, yes, it's not millions of dollars, but you come back another season, I'm assuming those contracts that you signed, those agreements that you signed, those deals that you signed, they're not going away. So you go into a second season, you're getting that. Or you go into the NBA where, yes, you can be the first pick in the second round. You can make $6.5 million right off the gate. Or you can sign a minimum 2-way contract. There's just such a huge swing in that. Someone has to be telling him, and obviously him and his family are the only ones to know the answer to this question. Someone has to be telling him he's a first-round draft pick. It just doesn't make any sense to me any other way. Someone has to be telling him that.
Well, yeah, but I think he's on the fringe of it, right? If you look at the mock drafts, he's anywhere from like pick 20 to early second round. That's where I think that this took some thought process. If he was obviously a lottery pick, like a top 15 pick, then he's gone. Don't think about it twice.
Boom,
hire the agent and go, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no problem there. I thought that this would take some thought, and I can't wait for to listen to Strick because I know Strick feels like he should have came back.
I agree. Yeah,
but
hear what he says.
I think, so I thought that there was a chance that Nebraska would get him back, a minute chance, a small chance. But I thought that there was a chance that they would get him back. The hiring to the agent to me doesn't make the most sense in the world right now. But again, that goes from my perspective of thinking that you might want to come back and play college ball again. This might not change whether he makes $2 million or is in the G League next year. Maybe that's his goal more so than Nebraska. So we can say what we want about what we want for him and from him as Nebraska people, right? That have a dog in the fight. But ultimately, if he'd rather be playing G League next year than Nebraska because he feels that's closer to the NBA, or he's going to get sharpened a lot more at that level than he is in playing in the Big Ten.
And that's another loaded question. Are we going to say playing in the Big Ten is more valuable than playing in the G League? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I watch a lot more Big Ten basketball than I watch G League. I could be wrong. I'm assuming scouts probably watch a lot more Big Ten basketball than they watch G League. You know what you got with your guys in the G League. They're literally a part of your team. They're under contract. These guys in the Big Ten, I mean, you're going up against Jaden Ivey every other night, a Kofi Coburn. I mean, they're going to be NBA scouts. They're going to be people watching your game night in and night out. And obviously, I'm not an NBA scout. I'm not going to speak for them. But if it were me personally, I'd put more weight into the Big Ten basketball. I would. I really would. Than G League basketball, I would put more weight into watching the Big Ten.
I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think as far as like publicity and marketability, it's certainly the NCAA. But if you watch the G League, if you even watch summer ball, you can see that's higher level than a lot of these basketball games that end up 46 to 38.
Some of them,
and I know Nebraska likes to push the pace, so they might end up scoring 60, but it doesn't mean that the basketball is a whole lot better. You know what I mean? So I know it doesn't get as much of a look, but I think that you would probably put more stock into the G League. A lot of those guys, you look at the lottery this year, and they've just kind of made this available to them. But there's like 3 or 4 lottery guys from the G League Ignite team. So
that's insane.
Because it basically
which changes the whole way that it's structured. But now you have kids coming right out of high school.
Yeah, and it makes sense though too. Like if you stock them in the G League, or if you go to the G League, It doesn't necessarily, like, again, you're not going to get the publicity or whatever, but that's like the idea that maybe you've had for years, like Arch Manning, right? If you could draft Arch Manning right now, you're not going to get anything out of him. He's in the college, which is
NFL is very different. I mean, you have grown men playing against a kid.
Well, right. I'm not. But what I'm saying is
There's
more
a reason
so than
they
anything,
make them go 3 years, develop your body, develop your skills, then you can come play in the NFL.
What I'm saying is that for the franchise that drafts him, whether it's Golden State late in the first round or the second round team, it can be the worst team in the league, whatever. And if he's not ready, you still feel good because you have the rights to him. If he's
That's
19,
fair.
by the time he's 21 or whatever, he's still got a lot of upside, but you've been able to work with him and you don't have to worry about, him staying in college. You'll have the rights to him. So I think there will be a little bit more value within the organization. But again, sometimes you can get lost within an organization too, where if you're not making the right amount of progress, they'll ship you off. But somebody's going to be interested in for the next several years, regardless, because of the athleticism he has and the upside.
And it's all off upside. That's all this is, which is why
it's scoring. He put enough work into
he
that.
does. He's a scorer. Again, his shooting is
not shooting necessarily
suspect
right?
at times, but I think Greg makes a couple good points. $2 million, come back to get a degree later, live your dream. Absolutely. Then he says, don't get the agent though, because there's a chance you're making $40K in the G League. If he's a second round pick, I don't think it'll reach a point where he's making $40K. I think those are more kind of the fringe guys playing either in the G League or Australia. But I don't know what kind of contract he would demand for a G Leaguer. And that's the one thing that you say, yeah, he's 19, you can develop in the G League. I've never entirely understood that. Why do you not want a Drew Timme on your team? Sure, he doesn't have nearly as upside as, say, a Bryce McGowan's, a Jaden Ivey, Keegan Murray, whoever have you. The kid plays hard. He's a good player. And sure, you can make the argument. Again, he doesn't have the upside. I would take him as a ninth man on my team.
Maybe.
And he's played basketball at a high level for 4 years. He's 23 years old. He's a grown man who can play with other grown men. I've never understood that. No, don't take him in the lottery. But why do you not want a kid? I said the same thing about Bonzie Colson when he was at Notre Dame. The dude was a 2-time first-team All-ACC. He was a little bit undersized, and just because he was 23 years old entering the draft, no one wanted him. He plays hard. He scores. He can shoot. He can rebound. Drew Timme's the same way. Why do you not want a guy like that on your team? I've never understood that about the NBA. I've never got. You take a shot on these kids. How many of them pan out?
Well, because but they have a chance to be at a higher rate.
But then you end up like the Pistons, and you just cycle through kids that aren't ever any good, and just hoping that they'll be good one day.
The Pistons is like the worst case scenario.
I mean, yes,
but yeah,
but I mean that
can happen.
It happens.
Yeah. Well, look, this is kind of what I was thinking too, because like Trace Jackson Davis is a good basketball player.
I'd want him on my team.
A three worth a lick, and that's where the game is, right? So he's kind of projected in the second round. Similar thing to what you're thinking about Drew Timme. It's like, what would this do to like a Psycho T? Tyler Hansbrough, when he came out, was a lottery pick. It was later. It was 13th. I don't know if he'd be picked in the first round right now.
I don't think he would. Which I don't understand. And obviously he didn't pan out in the NBA. I understand that, but I don't want a guy like that on my team. At least for a guy like that spent 4 years in college. You've seen him play. You know what you get. With a Bryce McGowan's, you have no idea. Hell, this kid could be the next Kobe, or he could be the next insert bust here. You just have no idea. At least with these seniors, man, you know what you get. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, but
it's right out in front of you.
but
I just
what you're
never
getting
understood.
It's probably somewhat replaceable is the problem.
And I understand that, but I just never understand the sentiment that a guy is too old to start in the NBA. He's still 23 years old. Since when is 23 years old too old? I've never understood. When's the last time a senior was taken in the lottery?
Yeah, it's very rare. Once in a while, Doug McDermott was.
Doug
McDermott,
that's
years ago, but
was it Corey Kispert? I think he was just outside
he might have
the
been
lottery, or was he in the lottery?
I think he was barely lottery. Yeah,
and I just don't get it. I don't understand. The kid's talented. He's played at a high level. He's 23 for crying out loud. Since when is that too old? These kids that you draft at 19, like you said, Bach, Bryce McGowan isn't even going to be ready till what, 21, 22? So why does it matter if he plays college basketball or if he plays in the G League? I just don't understand it. And there are people that are a lot smarter than me, making a lot more money than me, making these decisions. But time and time again, I see it, and it just doesn't work out.
Well, if you're 23, the idea, too, is that you're probably closer to topping out on your potential. right?
Look, man, if Drew Timme has peaked at his potential, I'll take him on my team. As a guy coming off the bench playing 10 minutes a game, why would you not want it? He plays hard. He boxes out. He gets rebounds. He can shoot for a big. I want him on my team.
He swears too much in post game interviews.
Yeah. He can't hold his language.
That's right. That's a problem for him. Craig says, please talk about the lack of NIL across the board. Box just said Nebraska's out in front, but actions don't speak those words. If Nebraska's hiding, not sharing, or not helping, would really like informed info. The problem with NIL is informed info altogether. Is because a lot of this money is not cash. It's hidden. It's not from one company. The University of Nebraska does not have is supposed to clear themselves of any ties to it, right? It's all supposed to be, just business. So it's hard to really gather all that information together. I would love to see a database or databases, as close as you could to it as well.
Too. I don't think
it's so new.
Cycled through all that.
Yeah. But Nebraska, the reason why I say it is Nebraska's out in front is because it's always made sense for it. Is because this is a market that's hot for college sports more so than almost just about any other market, maybe outside of Alabama.
You're right.
If you get
Clemson,
get
maybe
into basketball, so it's that's why it makes a lot of sense for Nebraska. And then the other thing, just listen to keep your ears open. Casey Thompson is pretty open about it.
I thought of,
right. But we'll see how much that should improve Nebraska over the years. It should give them an advantage, but I think it's going to be still quite a bit until we get a database to work from on what the exact numbers are there. I don't know if we'll ever get that because it's just really hard to track.
I take Casey Thompson's word for it, though. He threw the $100,000 number out there, and I don't know why he would lie about that.
I don't know. I take his word for it, but I also, again, you're listening to a college kid who has, just kind of telling you his experience, right? And I'm not taking away. He's a smart kid. He might, he processed this stuff and probably has thought about it through what I'm about to say. But there's a big difference between what the quarterback at Nebraska can make and what the second team tight end makes, right? Especially a second team tight end at Iowa State.
You also got to realize, though, if you're a 5-star quarterback recruit, your expectation is probably going to start. I would assume. If you're a highly touted recruit, come to Nebraska. You make some money.
That's right. We're going to keep yelling it as loud as we can until these teams get better. We got to take a break here on the Ticket Water Cooler. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
Springtime is here, and it's time to get to work on outdoor projects. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams. From treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671. Go online at deckcityne.com or visit their new location just north of 33rd and Cornhusker Highway.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Ticket listeners, it's Cristiano Simonetta, the voice of the Lincoln Stars. Join head coach Rocky Russo and I for Outside the Box every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. talking Stars hockey and more. Outside the Box every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
At Mountain Dew, we support the best and baddest disaster relief group in America, Team Rubicon. To show our support of Team Rubicon, Mountain Dew put in $1 million. And now you can help Team Rubicon too. Look for specially marked Team Rubicon bottles of Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew, and Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. Enter for a chance to win weekly prizes at MountainDewTR.com and donate to Team Rubicon. You'll earn exclusive rewards when you do. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 and older. Subject to rules at MountainDewTR.com. Ends 10/3/2020.
Are you ready for $0 cost individual employee health insurance? How about company paid life insurance for you and your family? What about on-the-job paid training? Become part of the Landmark difference today. Join Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, at our upcoming career fairs. Chat one-on-one with our team to hear what it's really like to work with us. Career fairs will be held at Landmark locations. March 8th in Lexington, March 10th in Kearney, March 22nd in Beatrice, and March 24th in Hastings. See more details at www.landmark.careers.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And things have obviously been pretty challenging lately with new vehicles, with all the microchip and supply chain issues, but things continue to loosen up as Koppel gets more and more new vehicles in each and every week. We've had many customers also custom order their vehicles. So if you don't see what you want in our current inventory, we can put an order in to get exactly what you want. So go online, reserve your new vehicle at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is your go-to place in Lincoln for repairs and maintenance for diesel pickups to Class 8 over-the-road trucks and trailers, from bumper pole utility to full-size semi. Gray performs DOT inspections and are a service provider for fleet companies like ARI, Element Fleet, and FleetNet. They're a family-owned business in operation since 1952, and they keep a clean, friendly shop. Customer service is their top priority. Give Gray Diesel and Equipment Services a visit today, with easy access just off I-80 and North 56th Street.
Maximize your savings with Bryant. Bryant offers efficient heating and cooling system options to help you save on your monthly utility bill. If you act now, their team will secure all available rebates to maximize your savings. Hurry, these rebates are for a limited time only. Call Bryant. Ask for a free estimate to save and improve your comfort. 467-1111. Online at BryantLincoln.com. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. State basketball has concluded, and here are your winners for girls and boys. For the girls, in Class A, number 2 Fremont won over number 5 Lincoln Southwest. In Class B, number 1 Elkhorn North won over number 2 Scott Catholic. In Class C1, number 1 Lincoln Lutheran just fell short against number 2 Northman Central, 31-35. For the boys, Miller North is your Class A champions after a win over number 2 Bellevue West, 67-57. In Class B, number 2 Roncalli Catholic won its championship over number 1 Scott Catholic, 52-37. In Class C1, Cale Jacobson from number 2 Ashland Greenwood continued his great tournament run. Ashland Greenwood took home the championship on a buzzer beater corner 3 by Evan Shepard, assisted by Cale Jacobson. They would win over Auburn, 36-33. In Class D2, number 6 Parkview Christian won over number 1 St. Mary's in the title game. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Work, laundry, dishes. I was exhausted. I needed a vacation, but finding a way to pay for it, not so easy. Then I found it, a research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. It was so easy. I earned cash for the study and booked that vacation. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at healthresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler. Brought to you by Culligan of Lincoln on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy Monday to everybody out there. This is the Ticket Water Cooler. I'm Jake Bachman. He is Nate Brennan, and it's brought to you by Colican Water. Let's jump into a little bit of NCAA tournament action as we have been talking about Bryce McGowens. If you missed it, Bryce McGowens is ready to hire an agent and move on to the NBA draft. So that will kind of change how we look at Nebraska basketball and the building block that they had. Real quickly before we do that, I know there was maybe the slight hope that Bryce McGowens would come back. Now that it's pretty close to official that he's not, what are your views on Nebraska basketball in the future? I don't think there's any way you can positively spin it.
No, I wouldn't say you can positively spin it. I was still, let's remember the Wisconsin game. I believe he didn't. How many minutes did he end up playing?
Didn't play that game.
He didn't play at all. I thought he played a few minutes. I guess not. So that's at least something to be positive about. Hoiberg hasn't lost the locker room, it would appear. McGowens is the only domino to fall. Maybe no other dominoes will fall.
Yeah,
that's probably a little bit too optimistic to think. But
hey, Trevor Lakes is out. Maybe that's not a big one. Okay,
solid point.
Yeah.
Look, Nebraska basketball, we've talked about it. Your goal should be 500 and go from there. I think they showed enough talent outside of Bryce McGowens, bring in a good recruiting class that's 6th in the Big Ten, build towards that 500 record and go from there. I would not say that's out of reach at this point in time. Would you? Even without McGowens, I don't think it's out of reach.
With a fresh slate, I think that maybe, if you, I guess that's
500.
That's tough to say. I'm not calling for Hoiberg's job here when I say just throw something fresh out there, and I could always expect 500. But Hoiberg's working, from an uphill, downhill position, I suppose, to go uphill in my mind, because I've already seen a few of his teams with a lot of turnover being muddled together and not being able to work. It's fascinating. Again, now with Bryce declaring for the draft, you already had Delano declare for the draft. You had Teddy Allen scored nearly 40 points in an NCAA tournament game. Yeah. So there's been talent on campus. It just hasn't meshed well. So I guess the idea now is that you're losing a little bit of the talent. Is it going to mesh better? I don't necessarily think so. Bryce would have been a great building block in just such an offensive weapon to build your offense around, whoever it may be, that would more, have kind of a well-oiled machine. If you can kind of get a point guard in and maybe a true center and some better shooting on the outside, they would have been. Again, I don't necessarily know if he comes back, if you're predicting them to go to the NCAA tournament next year. And I don't think so. So how far can you really drop from 3-4 conference wins, whatever it was? That's what they have going for them, is that they just didn't perform very well altogether.
No. And I don't think in any way we're saying it's good that Bryce McGowens left. There might be something to be said for a team meshing better without him. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I wouldn't really necessarily say that.
I mean, think about it. If he wasn't a 5-star, if he didn't have any of the hoopla coming in, and he just came out of nowhere and averaged 17 points per game as a freshman, and then you lose him, because we were preparing for this day, I don't think it hurts as bad.
I'd agree.
But if it was just kind of a surprise, you'd be losing your biggest building block, or what you would have expected to be your biggest building block in the program, since Teron Lue or something like that. You'd have to go pretty far back to a guy that had this type of upside. So in that sense, it's really damaging to the program, but it's not so damaging to the program because we all saw it coming, and he warned us, I want to be one and done. So you didn't really view him as a building block. You viewed him as maybe you could get him to stay, but probably
maybe
not.
A second year. And there's some coaching changes that have been in the works. Obviously that hasn't been finalized, but we know there's going to be some movement in the coaching staff. We know a good recruiting class is going to come in. Do you think, I don't even know how to word this. Does this give Hoiberg any leniency? Or do you think it's, you knew this was the reality when you took Bryce McGowens, figure it out regardless? Or do you think it's, okay, you lost your 5-star, we'll spare you a few wins after that? How do you interpret that? I think I don't think this has anything to do with it. I think Hoiberg has his expectations, whatever those expectations are that Trev laid out for the season. You reach these expectations or you're done. I don't think this has any type of influence.
Yeah, he's going to have to, in my mind, exceed the expectations that are going to be thrown before him. I mean, if you are able to put together a decent recruiting class, even still, you're relying mostly on freshmen. If you can get Trey McGowan and Derek Walker to come back, that's nice, but it's not necessarily scaring the Big Ten, right? So
no,
I just don't see them to be projected to be higher than 11th or 12th in the Big Ten to begin with, and that's probably being nice.
Do you think the number then? I said 500. Do you think 500 is the number?
I think that's a big ask. If
it's manageable.
If you
Why
go,
would it not be?
I'm saying if you go 8-10 or 7-11, 7-11. Even 6-12. I mean, maybe not. Okay, no, maybe not 6-12. If you go 7-11, that's my metric there. If they go 7-11,
that's a good season.
And yeah,
I take it.
Or they play 20 conference games now. They keep changing that too, so that's throwing me off.
7-13.
Yeah, 7-13.
Sure. Why not?
That's a maybe. You have to kind of see how things are going. Let's go to the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Tom has a question. Tom, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Oh, not too bad.
Doing good.
Okay, so here's my question. All right. So back when I participated in college, there was no such thing as NIL money. All right.
Yeah.
And we had a guy that went on his junior year. He decided to try out the draft. There was no hope for him to go to the draft, but he ended up going playing Europe ball, and then he played in the Olympics. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, like, he probably would stay and take the money of NIL, right? So I don't understand in modern day, all right? So I'm an old man, but in modern day, doesn't it make sense instead of back in my day, obviously, if you had a chance for the Hail Mary to get extra money, you took it, right? You went on there, you said, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna do that. But now there's NIL money. I don't understand the idea of why wouldn't you develop in college? Like, this kid would probably make $200,000 next year, and he's totally, in my opinion, he's totally not ready for the NBA at all. And then the next year after that, he'd probably make $350K at Nebraska, and then I would say the fourth year he'd probably make $1 million. He could get his degree. Then if he wanted to be a coach down the road, he could do that. He could still have his sign-in bonus in 3 years. To fully be developed. I just don't understand. I think the Hail Mary of trying to play professional ball is completely done. I don't think you should do that route. But I am an old guy, so I just want to see what your young bucks think. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I think it just kind of depends on where you're being projected. For Bryce, I know a lot of us see his game and don't see it as an NBA level quite yet, but it's not. I wouldn't consider it a Hail Mary. I mean, all he has to do is convince one team, like, right? It always only takes one team.
Takes one.
And regardless of that idea, which that might sound like a Hail Mary, he's projected from 20th to 35th or something. And that crosses the line over from guaranteed contract to non-guaranteed contract. Yeah. So I understand that. But he is a guy that the NBA is going to be interested in. Not like borderline interested in, like very much interested in having a piece that could be that could bloom over the next several years, regardless of whether that is getting your game better at college or going to the G League or playing some minutes in the NBA. We'd have to see kind of how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just situational. Some guys, I think that certainly makes sense. Again, it's also hard to kind of tell what the NIL money is.
Exactly.
To me, it is a bit surprising. Not so much how much money is being thrown around at Nebraska from what Casey Thompson was saying, but how little money was being thrown around at Texas, right? Because Texas, you would think, would be the other school,
the school,
more so than anybody, right? That is throwing out big money, and they certainly are in some programs. We heard every offensive lineman there, because they've got a deal, certain deals, is making, I think it was I can't remember what the number was, but it was thousands of dollars, whatever the case may be. So there's certain points where they can make a lot of money there. But I just think that sometimes NIL can be a little bit overblown, because a lot of it, you just have to have major companies at stake that want to put your name on their brand. A lot of it's going to be gift cards and stuff that's just not going to translate to NBA money or a living type of money.
And that's the problem is we can have these hypothetical numbers that we throw out there, but when it comes down to it, like you said, an NBA contract is X amount of dollars. This is what you are getting in cash. Obviously, probably not all entirely cash, but you have a financial number that is actually put out in front of you. NIL, I mean, you stay a couple years and your hope is to make X amount of money. Your hope is to get X in cash, X in cars, whatever have you. But that money in the NBA is boom, it's in front of you. That's yours. I think that we can throw out these numbers, but at the end of the day, how much are businesses, donors, boosters going to invest in the best player for the worst team in the Big Ten? Casey Thompson at Nebraska. Nebraska football is everything.
Yeah.
Sure, he's making $100K. How do we know that a 5-star recruit playing for a 10-win basketball team is making that much money? I mean, we don't know. We can say hypothetically, and I do think that there's something to be said. If he did stay till a senior, he would be like God around here. But so yeah, if he stayed till a senior year, yeah, he'd probably be making a lot of money. But if you can go to the NBA and they can offer you this contract, this much money for this many years, you have to take it. But I also agree, I wouldn't say that he's ready for the NBA. And we're not NBA scouts, and we can't make that decision. But from the eye test for fans, for most fans that we've heard from people in the media, I don't think he is ready. We've heard Eric Strickland, who has more credibility than anyone that I trust on this topic, say he's not ready and he should come back another year. So how much stock do you take in that when you have a former NBA player, you have a Nebraska Hall of Famer saying, this kid that plays for the school that I played at, who I know what it takes to play at an NBA level, he's not ready.
Yeah.
I trust what he has to say. I do.
Well, that's why I trust him that he's not ready. I just don't. I still think that there's a possibility that he would be highly valued within an organization. And again, as we're piecing together again, so first of all, to clean up on some laundry there, the Texas is offering $50,000 per offensive lineman starter. So that's
still a lot.
That's a nice money. But again, this money that we're talking about in NIL money, and it's wonderful for college kids, right? It's groundbreaking. It's incredible, and I'm glad that it's happening.
They deserve it.
But it's not the type of money, again, once you get to the professionals. When we say that if he's the last pick of the draft, he'll get nearly $2 million, that's for 1 year. He'll get a 4-year contract. He'll get $10 million, right? So,
and that's out in front of you. You are signing a contract for that amount of money.
Yeah.
NIL, you come back just hoping you'll get a certain amount of money.
And there's differences in guaranteed money, but we're talking about multiple millions, not scratching NIL money to get to $1 million, which is what it is right now. And that's great. I mean, it's awesome, but it's not professional league money.
But here's my biggest concern is, say you do stay another year, you make that leap, you start shooting the basketball better, you put on 15 pounds, and then you're a lottery pick. Then you're guaranteed, what, $20 million? Then there's something to be said for if you go in the second round this year, or you take a chance on yourself, you say another year, and then you get that guaranteed whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's the decision he has to make.
Yeah, but again, all of it could come back to just the
risk
point of guaranteed $2 million. Better, even if you could make $20 million eventually.
All of it is a calculated risk.
It is.
Are you risking staying in college another year, dropping your draft stock, getting hurt? Do you risk this year to getting taken in the second round? It's all a risk. Honestly, good for him. He took a chance on himself.
Yeah, and it's paying off, and we'll cheer for him. But it will hurt Nebraska basketball a little bit. We'll talk about the NCAA tournament coming up next here on the Ticket Water Cooler, brought to you by Colligan Water. Give Colligan a call if you're curious about getting your water softener salt delivered to your home or business. Call right now, 402-251-2309, or any time of the day for Colligan Water. We'll be back. Jake Bachman here, and I want to tell you about something that I do that is helpful in the health industry. I'm talking about Solarion, where if you're eligible, you can earn up to $500 per day while helping develop new pharmaceutical products. I've worked with Solarion for many years and keep going back because I feel confident in the well-trained staff and well-researched studies that I participate in. Plus, if you have a busy schedule, they have weekend studies or overnight studies that shouldn't affect your normal work hours. I felt confident in knowing that not only am I helping with potential cures in the health industry for various illnesses, but also knowing that by participating, it helps me out too. If you're curious about how to earn up to $500 per day for participating in a research study at Solarion, check them out at helpresearch.com/new or call them at 866-213-2965. Once again, that's Solarion at 866-213-2965 or at helpresearch.com/new.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. And things have obviously been pretty challenging lately with new vehicles, with all the microchip and supply chain issues, but things continue to loosen up as Koppel gets more and more new vehicles in each and every week. We've had many customers also custom order their vehicles. So if you don't see what you want in our current inventory, we can put an order in to get exactly what you want. So go online, reserve your new vehicle at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket. Every Saturday morning now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Hey, Ticket listeners, it's Cristiano Simonetta, the voice of the Lincoln Stars. Join head coach Rocky Russo and I for Outside the Box every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. talking Stars hockey and more. Outside the Box every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m.
They say one great thing leads to another, and that's especially true when you visit a Great Clips salon. When you sit down for a haircut with a skilled and friendly stylist at one of our thousands of convenient Great Clips locations, they'll not only make your hair look great, they'll make you feel great too. And that's something you can't help but share with the world. Download our online check-in app today and opt in to get a ready next text when you're up next. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Are you ready for $0 cost individual employee health insurance? How about company paid life insurance for you and your family? What about on-the-job paid training? Become part of the Landmark difference today. Join Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, at our upcoming career fairs. Chat one-on-one with our team to hear what it's really like to work with us. Career fairs will be held at Landmark locations. March 8th in Lexington, March 10th in Kearney, March 22nd in Beatrice, and March 24th in Hastings. See more details at www.landmark.careers.
I'm Jenny Benson. I taught for 32 years. Educators are used to the challenges of a typical school year, but the last year plus was far from typical. Yet everyone leaned in and found creative ways to adapt, innovate, and persevere. Behind each student were resourceful families and dedicated educators who reached out with open arms of support. Because of all the ways we work together, our students continued to learn, grow, and thrive.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Springtime is here, and it's time to get to work on outdoor projects. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams. From treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671. Go online at deckcityne.com or visit their new location just north of 33rd and Cornhusker Highway.
Today on Hey Culligan, why does your team stink? Here's Coach Waters.
Hey, Culligan. Yeah, my team stinks. No. I mean, they stink. They won't hit the showers because it makes their skin all dry.